Hello, everybody, and welcome to this all-new episode of the Fairfax Sports Report. I'm your host, Monica Moore, and we have a great program for you tonight after being off for the past couple of weeks. And to take us through everything that's been happening from around the region, I'm delighted to be joined by some of the best sports writers from around the region, Paul Frumelt from the Fairfax Times, Dan Sousa from Vivaloudoun, and BJ Kubaroulas, a contributor to the Washington Post. But first, let's thank the folks that help make this program possible. First of all, our good friends at CCI Screen Printing for all of your screen printing needs. Also, special thanks to Craig Strabutzel for the photos that you see during this program. Also, don't forget you can get copies of this program and all the games we broadcast from throughout the region at www.pressboxvideo.com. Check out our website for news, notes, and our Video Vault feature with highlights and interviews. And also, don't forget to become a fan of this program on our Facebook page. Finally, send us any suggestions, story ideas, comments, or anything else that you want to send us at our email address. Well, as always, we want to start off with a couple of news and notes from around the region. First of all, congratulations to Gabe Pike. The Herndon wrestler has been named the Army Strong Wrestler of the Week for Northern Virginia. That's an award voted on by the fans, so it's a very special honor. And now he's a finalist to be Army Strong Wrestler of the Year. A couple of college signings we want to mention. First of all, congratulations to Liana Epstein over at Lake Braddock. She's signed to run for Yale University next year. Of course, she's been a top runner for Lake Braddock for the past few years. And one other college signing to talk about, congratulations to Fairfax's Kevin Dowd. He has signed to run for Virginia Tech next year. He was also considering Virginia and William & Mary, settled on Virginia Tech. Of course, he was one of the two runners from the region that competed in the Foot Locker Nationals last year. The other runner was Paige Kvartunis from West Springfield. Finally, one last thing I want to mention is that Madison High School will be inducting several new members into their Athletics Hall of Fame on January 30th at 6 p.m. at Westwood Country Club in Vienna. So certainly wanted to mention that among the people being inducted is their 1989 state champion girls tennis team. Okay, well, to start the program off, I'm delighted to be joined on the phone by Ryan Jackson, the head coach of the Langley Swim and Dive team. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us. You guys are having a phenomenal season so far. Can you tell us what were your goals coming into this season?
Thank you. We had a pretty successful season last year, and we're hoping to repeat some of the same successes. On the boys' side, we've won the Liberty District title the past 2 years, and hopefully can repeat that again for a third year in a row. We finished 5th at regionals and then 3rd at Virginia States last season, and would love to place that high, if not maybe a little bit higher, if we can manage to work that out. On the girls' side, we have finished 2nd at the Liberty District the past 2 seasons and would love to bring home a title if possible, and then finish in the top 5 at regionals and top 5 at states again.
Well, obviously you had a lot of talent returning, particularly on your boys' team. Of course, Steven, Chuck Caddis, Ryan Naddle. Can you talk a little bit about those swimmers? What makes them such strong competitors and how you've seen them improve from last year to this year?
All 3 boys are incredibly hardworking with their club teams as well as when they're in the water with Langley. I can't say enough good things about each of them. They're all 3 great young men as people, and just every time they're in the water, they give 100%. They just continue to get faster and faster every year and every week, and we are certainly glad to have them on the team.
Now, on the girls' side, I know you've also got some very strong swimmers, and you had a freshman coming in, Abby Spears, who a lot of people had high expectations for. Can you talk about some of the girls that have really stood out so far this season?
Yeah, Abby was certainly a great addition to the team. We've got a really strong freshman class this year, but she's certainly a standout. She's already made regional cuts in the 50 and 100 freestyle and is just shy, hundredths of a second shy in the 50 and under a second from the 100 freestyle for state cuts this season. Then Chuck's twin sister, Jamie, she's also achieved a state cut in the 200 free already and has got regional cuts in the 200 IM, 200 free, and 100 freestyle.
Well, obviously the Liberty District's always a tough place. I know you suffered a disappointing loss to Madison early in the season, but then you rebounded with a very big win over Fairfax, who's traditionally been very good. Can you talk a little bit about your team's mindset coming off that loss to Madison, going into the Fairfax meet, and what you think contributed to your team's success during that meet?
Simply put, we don't like to lose. Like most teams, when you have a loss, you certainly spend a little time reflecting on why that is and what didn't necessarily work so well for us, what we can improve upon. And the kids certainly turned it around. And I mean, we had a great meet against Madison. They just simply outswam us and outdove us. So definitely hats off to them. But our kids do not like to lose, and so they worked really hard in that next week to come back, to get back against Fairfax and bring in a win.
When you've been on a bit of a roll after that, you had a big meet against Stonebridge this past Friday, which your team won. Can you tell us what the highlights were of that meet?
Yeah, we had some great swims all around. We swam out in Loudoun County, so it was a bit of a bus trip for us, but after we got out there, we had some really solid swims. I mixed up some of the kids and swam them in some off events, but they certainly stepped up and performed really well. And just really, it's hard to single out a couple kids because they all did so well. And especially coming back after winter break, sort of that first meet back after having some time off, and we really came together and gelled really well and sort of got right back on track where we left off before winter break.
And the decision to mix the kids up between the events, was that something looking towards the postseason or just trying to give some different athletes opportunities in other events, or what was the thought behind that?
It's actually both. Try to mix the kids up and give them some opportunities to swim some new strokes. For example, Chuck Caddis, typically a 200 IM breaststroker. I swam him in the 50 free and the 100 back, and state cuts in both there, just kind of showing his versatility in certain events, and also just to kind of give the kids a little bit of a break from their usual or their typical events, and then also just to kind of play around and see maybe what we can do at districts, regionals, and states.
Now, of course, these meets during the beginning of the season are all building up to the district tournament or the district meet, the region meet. Are there other things that you've been focusing on to look towards those meets that you've been looking to improve upon? Really refining, what we do in the water, and so many times, and I'm sure my kids are sick of me saying it, but it's the little things that we need to work on. And when races are decided by hundredths of a second and tenths of a second, those little things is like a streamline or not breathing off your walls, really strong, fast finishes. Those little things can make a really big difference. And so, I keep harping on that every day in the pool. And finally, Coach, obviously you've had a chance to see some of the other competitors from other Liberty District teams. Are there any individuals that have stood out to you that you've seen great improvements from last year to this year, or that you guys think are going to be very tough competition at the Liberty District Championships?
There are so many outstanding athletes in the Liberty District. It's a great opportunity to compete against them every single week. I was thinking about this, and we have some really good competition coming up on Friday night against McLean, and both a boy and a girl from McLean are outstanding and will be outstanding all the way through the state meet, and that's Charlie Putnam and Eva Green. Those two are certainly our kids to watch because they are just outstanding swimmers all around.
Excellent. Well, Coach, we wish you guys the best of the luck throughout the remainder of the season, and thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Monica.
Okay, so that gives you a bit of a preview of what's been going on in Northern Region Swimming. Langley having a very strong season. The district meets will be happening near the end of the month, and so we'll keep you posted about what's going on. But now we're going to take a break from Northern Region Sports and segue over into our Loudoun report. Paul Frummel is joined by Dan Sousa.
Hey guys, Paul Frummel from the Fairfax County Times, Dan Sousa, Vivaloudoun.com. Dan, a lot of happenings in Loudoun County. Let's jump right into Potomac Falls and Dominion. Actually, breaking news, actually.
News first,
Stop the
right?
Press is breaking news.
It's not football season, but bit of a bombshell coming in Loudoun. It's not official because the school district has to approve it, but Mike Burnett, the head football coach at Broad Run, back-to-back state titles, who's won 28 consecutive games, been there for 4 years, turned the program around, has accepted a teaching position at Tuscarora High School in Leesburg. He'll be the chairman of the social studies department there, and hopefully will be the next football coach. That just has to be approved. I guess it's kind of a no-brainer there to approve that. In about 2 weeks, we'll get the official word, but it's quite a shock, I think, to probably the Broad Run community a little bit to see their coach leave. He came in, they had a 1-9 team. They went 5-5 his first year, 10-1 the next year, 14-0, 14-0.
We talked about this before. Just so everybody knows, tell everybody what schools that Tuscaloosa is going to draw from.
Yeah, Tuscarora is going to draw from Heritage and a little high school called Stonebridge, which has quite a winning tradition there. The Bounders have been kind of jockeying around, a little bit of a controversy in Loudoun, and it was decided recently that the Lansdowne community up above Route 7 in Loudoun is going to go to the new high school Tuscarora, which will be off of 15 in outside of Leesburg, and so they will have players that are currently now at Stonebridge. There'll be a grandfather clause if you're there already. So some of the players we see there now will stay at Stonebridge, but in the future, if you live in Lansdowne, you'll be going to Tuscarora High School.
And look at some of the established coaches that have left their jobs for new schools. You think of in the northern region, Tom Verbanek leading Fairfax to Westfield, Mickey Thompson leading Parkview for Stonebridge. Yeah. So they have that success. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Right, and a domino effect, because now who takes over the Broad Run job? Here you're going to interview at a school where they have back-to-back state titles, and they haven't lost. They've only lost one time in the last 3 years.
Very, very interesting for football. But let's jump into basketball real quick here and take a look at Potomac Falls and Dominion heading into this game, looking at the highlights. Heading into this game, Potomac Falls, one of the best teams in the area. Dominion, their record doesn't really show how good they were.
Yeah, they've been playing. They're a AA school. They've been playing AAA teams, so they only had one victory coming in. And what's happening is that Potomac Falls is ranked number 2 in the state. So not only are they one of the best in the Dulles district, but they're ranked number 2 in the entire state.
Lucas Mihailovic for Potomac Falls, just another outstanding game. Talk a little about what he brings to this team.
Well, he's a junior. He scored 50 points in one game, a school record in December. He scored 27 in this game. And I talked to another coaching staff this week, and I said, who do you think is the MVP of the league right now? And they said Lucas Mihailovic, hands down. Now, Kevin McGowie at Broad Run has a little something to say about that. You have Miles Tate over at Briar Woods, but yeah, Mihailovic, just a junior.
You can see some of his highlights in this game. And in the game, Potomac Falls winning 65-58, but it was close pretty much the whole time, and that's one thing Dominion can hang their hat on, is they've had a lot of losses, but they've been able to keep all these games close.
They have, and then they played Loudoun County later in the week, and they won by 30 points. So maybe Dominion is ready to make a run. They won the Dulles District last year, and that was a big thing for the school, but they graduated a lot of seniors, including DeAndre Albrecht.
See DeAndre Reeves, he had 17 points in the game.
They still have one DeAndre left.
And he's doing a great job with those 17 points, also a scoring machine. You see Mihailovic there with the putback, and he just kind of took over in the second half.
And he's a player, what I like about him is he's just a true basketball player. You watch him in warm-ups, you wouldn't be like, okay, I'm very concerned about the player, but he gets in the game, he knows how to pass, he knows how to shoot, and he plays defense. He's got the total package.
Mihailovic, 27 points. Brendan Chesson with 12 points. Greg Graves with 9, and for Dominion, DeAndre Reeves with 17, and Andre Evans with 15. Well, after the game, I had a chance to speak with Mihailovic and Coach Jeff Hawes on their victory.
Thanks, Monica. Here, head coach Jeff Hawes and Lukac Mihailovic. Lucas, 27 points. Talk about your performance.
Well, I just wanted to come out here and come up big for the team. It was. I think it was rough on all of us last year, for us as players, coach, the fans. So I just really wanted to come out here and get this win, and more importantly, bigger than beating Dominion. It's a good district win, and so we'll take it.
Yeah, and Dominion's a scrappy team. They fought back. They tied the game a couple of times. What was the main factor for you guys able to pull away?
I think just this year we have more confidence in ourselves as players. I knew coming in, regardless what their record was. I know all these guys. I knew we weren't going to win this game by 30. They're a good team. It's a rivalry game. They're going to come up big, but I think, last year we didn't necessarily, when they made a run, we didn't necessarily have the confidence. But this year, I think when they run, we have confidence in our abilities, and just play it.
Talk about Brandon and what he was able to do because he helped you with scoring.
Well, he's been big all year like that. Every time because at the beginning of the game they were coming real tight on me, and I think he might have started off with 6 right in the first quarter, and then they kind of loosened up on me and makes things easy for me. But he's been doing that all year. He's one of my best friends, a great player.
Coach, talk about Lucas when he was able to do tonight.
Well, for them to have a box on one on him and all the attention that he draws, I didn't realize he had 27. I'm more into the game than who scores what, but yeah, he's I'm lucky to have him. He finds ways to score. I thought he did a good job not forcing stuff, keeping his teammates involved, and he's a winner. He's a winner, and he wanted to get it done for us. He had a lot of big buckets. He's tough at the free throw line, so we just kind of hand him the ball and tell him to make free throws for us. So hats off to Dominion. I mean, I've been scared to death all day. I couldn't eat. I couldn't anything. The record, throw that out, and they've had a really tough schedule. They've played a lot of good teams tough. And it's definitely developed into a rivalry now. I think we turned the corner in it being a rivalry last year. We've always been close to each other, but as far as a rivalry, I'm not sure. But you won't see a crowd like this anywhere else around on a Tuesday night. And so it's a huge, huge win for us. It looked like at times we were in trouble, but we didn't play great, but we found a way to get it done.
All right, Coach, Potomac Falls, winners over Dominion.
Since we talked about just the big win for Potomac Falls, but Dominion, after that game, that was kind of a starting off point because they had a couple big wins.
Yeah, they did, and they really beat Loudoun County, which is a team I thought was playing better. We get Callie Brown, who is a signee for soccer to go to UVA to play goaltender, but he came out for basketball this year for the first time in 2 years, and they had been winning, but Dominion really put it to them. And Dominion, look at their record. I think they only have 2 wins, but they're probably the best 2-win team around right now. So they're going to be a dangerous team to play down the stretch.
We'll take a look at those Dulles District standings later on in this Loudoun report. But let's jump to Briarwoods and Parkview, another big matchup in the Dulles District as we jump right into the highlights. And there's a Parkview just dominating this game, Dan.
Yeah, and it was a Jordan Owens that we see driving in there and laying it up. Not only did he score offensively, 24 points, but he drew the defensive assignment of taking Miles Tate, the super sophomore for Briarwoods, averaging 22 points a game, and they held Miles Tate to 8 points, which is amazing. You also see the height there where Parkview was blocking shots whenever they tried to come inside. But Jordan Owens, really, you can't say enough about what he did. There he is, scoring again. But the defensive assignment, he actually texted his coach, Mike Kaczynski, during the day. He texted him and said, "Coach, I want to guard Miles Tate." And he said, "Okay, you've got the assignment," and he carried it out.
You mentioned Miles Tate held to 8 points and Jordan Owens with 24. Ryan McCarter with 22. That's a nice 1-2 punch for the Patriots.
Yeah, it's another super sophomore, Ryan McCarter. You got McCarter, you got Miles Tate, two big sophomores, both averaging over 20 points. I say big, of course, Miles Tate being 5'5", but these are sophomores that are really standing out. And so far, with Owens coming through, the next game after this game, he scored 27 points. So Owens has had 2 good performances back-to-back. That does give him a lot more scoring, and people can't key on Ryan McCarter if Owens is going to open up.
So Parkview with the big win, as you see the highlights there, over Briarwoods, 71-52. Owens with 24 points, McCarter with 22, Philip Hardy with 14, 11 points for, you go ahead and say the name.
Yves Kwame.
There you go, and Miles Tate with 8 points. Thank you, Dan, on the assist there. But also, so a big win for Parkview. Again, we'll look at the standings a little bit later, but let's jump to a post-game interview with Jordan Owens and the winning head coach.
I'm standing here with our player of the game, Jordan Owens, head coach Kaczynski, and a lot of the Parkview players that contributed to this win tonight. Now, Jordan, I know a lot of pressure was placed on your shoulders. Can you talk a little bit about your effort tonight?
This has been a big game all week. We've been talking about this game all year, and we have a big rivalry. Coach used to coach there, and me and the whole team have been wanting to get this one all year.
Now, it was a close game for much of the game. The score doesn't really indicate that, but can you talk a little bit about your team's composure as they kept kind of claw back in and you guys held them off?
All week we've been talking about Miles. He's a big player in our district. We've been talking about we got to focus on him. He's going to go off, and we got to just accept that and live with him getting all his points. And I had all my help behind me. I knew I was going to have a tough time covering him, but I knew I had my guys behind me.
Now, Coach, I know you guys were focusing on Miles. Can you talk a little bit about your team's defensive effort tonight?
We had a tremendous defensive effort. This man here did a great job. So did Ryan, both tag teaming on Miles. We wanted to make it tough on Miles as possible. We weren't sure whether or not, but Jordan, we were communicating earlier today, and he's like, Coach, I want him. I'm going to take him. He's like, we're going to run this scheme. And I listen to these guys here for their gut instinct. And we went with it today, and it worked. And I'll tell you what, we're becoming the defensive team we need to become, and tonight showed it.
And, Coach, what are you most pleased with other than getting the W tonight?
We did it as a team. It was a complete team effort. JR was on a bum ankle here. Brandon stepped in big time to help out. Dante matured and played a great game. Alec came in and did a terrific job. We had Tim, who's in the locker room right now, was phenomenal. And this guy, he's going to get a lot of attention here, and he had to battle through a guy really digging in and doing a great job on him. And we did that. And as you can see, as the game went on, we wore them out.
Well, Coach, congratulations.
All right, so that's Parkview going to 3-1 in the district. And as promised, let's jump right into these Dulles district standings for boys basketball. You see Potomac Falls there, 4-0 in the district, 10-1 overall. Broad Run, 4-1, 12-1 overall. You see Parkview, 3-1, 8-4. What jumps out to you, Dan?
Well, you got Potomac Falls and Broad Run. Everyone's looking at these two teams. Potomac Falls is ranked number 2 in the state in AA, according to the Associated Press, and Broad Run is number 4. And honestly, you know, once again, you want to win the district title in the Dulles. You don't want to have to put it into the tournament to sort of have to get in there as far as seeding goes.
You see Freedom, Loudoun County, Dominion pulling up the rear there. But Dominion, with just those 2 wins, a lot better team than that 2-11 record.
They are, and of course, it's in the old days. It used to be, well, you won the district, you went, and you won the tournament, you went. That still holds true. But now with the divisions 4 and 3. There's some kind of formula that they work on. Most of the coaches don't even know it. I believe it involves some sort of MIT professor and a Ouija board. But, you know, later on we'll figure it out. But the more wins you get and the better you do. It has to do with the number of wins you have. It also has to do where you finish in your district.
All right, also the 2 teams in Prince William County's Cedar Run district, actually can't even consider it Prince William County's Cedar Run district anymore. Battlefield leading that district, 5-5 overall record. But the 2 teams we're going to talk about, Loudoun Valley 5-5, 0-2 in the district. Heritage 2-5, 0-1 in the district. Tough time for the Loudoun teams.
It is. Both of them are saying, "Help! Can you please get us back to the Dulles district?" You know, and they both are going back. I mean, with the new enrollment figures coming out when they go to the next cycle. Unfortunately, we just started a 2-year cycle, so they're going to have to wait a year and a half. But Heritage and Loudoun Valley will both go down to AA.
All right, now let's take a look at who you think are the best teams in Loudoun County. Vivaloudoun's boys basketball rankings, and go ahead and explain yourself.
Well, we got Potomac Falls. I mean, we can't argue with that. Up top, they did beat Broad Run head-to-head on a buzzer beater this year. And Stonebridge, they got to be number 3 right now. They're playing incredibly well. They won last night, so we can up that record to 8-4. And the last time they were 4 games over 500 this late in the season, probably never. I mean, this is one of the best runs that they've had right now.
And looking at Loudoun Valley at 5-5, Parkview at 8-4. So Loudoun Valley still sneaks in at 5-5.
Yeah, it's 5-5. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, but really, there's a lot of other teams. Carl Lucat from Loudoun Times-Mirror helps me put that together, and you know, sometimes we flip a coin or so for the 5th spot.
Okay, so now let's jump to something that's not of opinion. It's just straight numbers, straight facts.
Shows the numbers.
The hot shots for Vivaloudoun boys basketball. Mikhailovich, 50 points in a game. My goodness.
That's incredible.
And look at Miles Tate there. He's on there 3 times.
He's on there 3 times, and that 35 points by Nick Brown, we should point out, last night against Fairfax was a school record for Stonebridge and the 4th biggest scoring this season. I think the scoring is up this season compared to some of the past years. I know you've been out in Loudoun, and I don't think you saw a 50-point game when you were out there.
Certainly not, and just the Miles Tate, that just shows the job that Parkview did against him when they played. Just a lot of big numbers going up there in the Loudoun County. Let's jump over to girls basketball real quick.
Definitely.
Let's
We've
go
got
ahead.
Some great girls basketball.
Let's check out the Dulles district standings. Freedom, South Riding represent. That's my neighborhood. 5-0 in the district, 10-2 overall. Something else what else jumps out at you?
Well, I think we have to mention, we mentioned Freedom, that this last Friday they went without their coach, Jason Elridge, who was serving a 1-game suspension, sort of undisclosed reasons, something internally with the administration, but it didn't really slow them down. I mean, this team is loaded. They have Kelsey Buchanan, Deanna Scott, Jessica Scorza. They've got 3 fantastic Division I players, and they are ranked number 1 in the state right now.
Well, great job for Freedom. Now let's jump over to the Cedar Run district in Loudoun Valley. they're kind of liking, the girls are kind of liking being in the Cedar
It's
Run.
different, right? The thing we should note on here is Stonewall Jackson had only played one, and they played their second game. Stonewall Jackson is ranked in the top 20 in the Washington Post, and so they're the class of that district. And now they haven't separated into different divisions, so you need to win that tournament or finish second to Stonewall Jackson if you want to advance to the Northwest region.
It's going to be tough. I covered Stonewall Jackson last year. Definitely one of the best teams in the state right now. And now, again, let's check out the hot shots for girls basketball. Compiled by Vivaloudoun, compiled by Dan Sousa.
We're going to look at the rankings first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Explain yourself on this.
We got to talk about Stonebridge here. Once again, if you look at Freedom and Loudoun County, and these are two teams that are highly ranked. Both of them were state championship teams last year. Freedom in Division III, Loudoun County in Division IV. And Loudoun County, you see Potomac Falls number 4. Potomac Falls, up and coming this year. They had a 15-point lead on Monday night at Loudoun County. And Loudoun County had to come back in the second half to win that game. Stonebridge having a very good season. Probably the best start that the girls basketball team has had there since Mike Benson, the current Briar Woods boys coach, was there and left about 5 years ago.
Yeah, so just one thing I'm noticing, Stonebridge boys, Stonebridge girls, each having really nice seasons.
Are.
Can you point to a reason behind that?
Well, I think on the girls' side, Chris Jones is the coach. Second year there. He was an assistant coach at Broad Run. Broad Run had some great teams over the years. And he's taken some of those things that he helped implement at Broad Run and is doing it there. I think on the boys' side, they've got Nick Brown. Nick Brown is only a junior, but he's quite a scorer. They have Richie Berry, who's a senior, and they've got some players behind them who are real role players and are supporting those guys. I think this year they have more of a team effort, so it's looking good there.
Now let's take a look at those hot shots. And Brittany Batts, 30 points against Valley. You see Kim Bell on there twice, scoring 29 twice. A big scoring output for a lot of these players.
Right, and two things we should say on this. Brittany Batts, I talked to her Monday night, and I kind of mentioned to her, I was teasing her, and I said, what? You're not number one on our list? You haven't scored 30 points this year? And then last night I get a call from Loudoun County coach Kevin Reed. He says, you better update your list. She scored 30. In that effort, she hit 8 3-pointers, which tied her own school record, and she's an underclassman too. She's only a junior. Kim Bell, this is kind of a sad note, 2 29-point games in the first week of the season, but then in the second week of the season, she injured her knee. She underwent surgery earlier this month, and she is out for the year.
Wow, you see Alyssa Kane, Batts' teammate with 27, and then the Freedom girls, Deanna Scott and Kelsey Buchanan make that list as well.
You see the depth there for the Eagles.
So that is basketball for the Loudoun Report, but we're not done with Loudoun County. Let's jump into some gymnastics, Dan. And just looking at the 30th Annual Parkview Invitational, Dominion coming out on top.
Yeah, and this is the lower division. And the nice thing about the Parkview Invitational, it's been going on for, first of all, it's the longest running Loudoun event. They've got 14 teams, so there's enough teams to divide it into 2 divisions. And that allows a Dominion, a smaller school, to go ahead and to win and take a trophy home. I mean, they're competing against Stonebridge and Loudoun Valley. Your bigger schools, they wouldn't be able to do that. So in 30 years, I mean, not many events run for 30 years. I would imagine 30 years ago, you weren't even born yet, Paul.
I was not. Okay, let's break down this event even further, going into the athletes and what jumps out at you.
Yeah, we're looking at the blue division. I think what we're looking at is that Dominion, who I believe it was 2 years ago, they had to curtail the gymnastics program. They didn't have girls come out. Now they have Alexa Giovannis, who's doing real well, and she wins the all-around. And so they also have Ayanna Robinson, 2 nice gymnasts, and so hopefully they're building something there. It's a smaller school, and that they will do something. And they're not going to win the Dulles district, but they're going to represent well come district time. Let's
jump over to the red division for the Parkview Invitational. This is the big boys right here.
Yeah, I mean, look at Loudoun Valley, Stonebridge. They have proud gymnastic programs. Broad Run is doing really well this year. So this was a stiff competition. I should note now, Stonebridge finished just behind Loudoun Valley, but Tori Severin, who is their top gymnast, she's been out a month with a severe ankle injury. I talked to the coach this week, and they're hoping that she can come back in time for the postseason here. But it shows you how strong Stonebridge is, that they're still scoring well, and they have Tori Severin who can't perform.
And let's jump into the athletes and take a look at some of the key individual performances, and looking at Jessica Drews for Loudoun County, best local athlete there.
Yeah, and that's going to be, she's just a sophomore, and she's their hope to leave Loudoun County to maybe a district title. But you've got Broad Run, you see Drea Ewing and her sister Kimmy Ewing. Both are representing Broad Run very well this year. Broad Run is doing well. They scored over 130 points last night. Freedom scored over 130 points last night. Now, Loudoun County has only scored 125 points, but I talked to some coaches this weekend at Parkview, and they said, well, you need to put an asterisk by that because Loudoun County looks strong. So I think you've got Freedom, Broad Run, Loudoun County. It should be a pretty exciting Dulles District meet later on this month.
One thing the viewers should know is Dan Sousa knows his Loudoun County. He brings the stats every week here on the Fairfax Sports Report. Let's jump into some more statistics. This is the top team scores compiled by Vivaloudoun, Stonebridge at number 1.
Yeah, the 139, and I got to believe that the 139 they scored, that's when Tori Severn is there, and she's doing well with them. They needed to do that. But Loudoun Valley with 135, I mean, these are very good scores. And last night there was a meet where Freedom and Broad Run both scored 133, so they're going to move up this week on that chart when we update it.
Let's move around a little more quickly here. We have some more stuff to do. Now let's do some wrestling, Dan. Let's look at the Vivaloudoun's top at each weight class. You have Dang right there at 103. Take a look. What else jumps in at you?
Well, I think what we're going to see, and we go on to the next page where you have the other weights, we're going to see a lot of Freedom wrestlers that come up, and Freedom is having an incredible season. They had not won a tournament coming into this year. They've won 4 tournaments, including over the weekend they won the Elks tournament at Millbrook. And Millbrook is a proud wrestling program. They have never lost a tournament on their home mats. And Freedom comes, Millbrook was looking at Turner Ashby maybe or themselves at winning this. Freedom comes in there. A lot of people don't know them, maybe not giving them a lot of respect, and they win that tournament, a 4th tournament title so far.
All right, that is wrestling. We're just running through to take a look at some of these nice photos, courtesy of Vivaloudoun. And that is wrestling for us. Let's jump into swimming real quick, Dan. How about it?
Well, swimming, Broad Run boys, Briarwood girls, and these are the 2 teams that last year were the teams to beat, and once again this year they're the teams to beat. And what jumped out at me over the weekend was Allie Hoffler for Briarwoods. She set an area best in 2 different events, helped to relay to an area best. So Briarwoods just has a lot of depth on the girls' side, and same thing on the boys' side. It's Broad Run, and they had Mike Sarman this week who had some very good performances. So look for those 2 teams to go pretty deep into the postseason.
Let's run real quick into the girls' swimming standings right here. Potomac Falls at 4-0. Let's just run real quickly. The Cedar Run District, looking at Heritage and Loudoun Valley. Not much dual meets.
Well, there hasn't, right, and because it's such a small district and because they've had the snow.
All right, let's keep things moving with the top swimming times in the area. Broad Run medley relay.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. If you look at some of these times here with Sarman holds the top times in 3 events, but also Nick Mason has been swimming real well for Briarwoods. With swimming, the swimmers are shooting for the district or regional or state, so they're tapering. And I think right now we're starting to see some of the times start to be lowered as they're getting ready for their runs.
We'll switch right over to the girls' top swimming times. Briarwoods 200 medley relay. They have one of the top times.
They have one of the top times, and also if you look at the individual events, they have Allie Hoffler, they have Kaylee Hensley, and they have Elise Gesford. So they have 3 swimmers who can dominate their individual events. Put those girls on a relay, especially a medley relay, you're going to finish in first. All
right, Dan, let's put a bow on this Loudoun report. Anything else to add as we end the Loudoun report for this week?
Well, I think it's just going to be, not only do we have, we started with football, let's end with football. 2 Loudoun former athletes, Adrian Tracy had played at Potomac Falls, Ed Wang at Stonebridge, have both been invited to the NFL Scouting Combine, and both of them could be drafted in the NFL draft coming up this spring, so it's something to watch out for.
It's a great way to end it. That was the Loudoun Report. Back to Monica Moore.
Okay, guys, well, thanks very much for that. If you're one of our Loudoun viewers and you feel like we've neglected your area for too long, we will be having the Loudoun Report on this show this season and also highlights from Loudoun games that we'll be covering. But now let's segue back to Northern Region basketball. BJ Kubarulis had the opportunity to catch up with 2 Woodson High School basketball standouts this week in the Players Lounge.
Welcome into the Players Lounge. I'm BJ Kubarulis. Well, this week in the Players Lounge, I have 2 special guests. There on the far side of your screen is John Schoaf of the WT Woodson Cavaliers, and then closest to me is his teammate, Max Lennox, also of the Cavaliers, a senior guard. John's a junior. Now, guys, you have something in common, all right? Well, we'll start with that because you can't avoid it, all right? John, right now you're hurt in your junior year. Max, you were hurt in your junior year. So you guys have a really good understanding, and also because you guys kind of need each other to play off each other, and it's been tough in the last 2 years because you haven't really had each other. So let's start with that. You guys are having a season, a tough one in the Patriot District. Let's start with that. John, how difficult is it for you to kind of sit on the sidelines and watch this season develop?
I mean, it's at first I just took it really hard, and it was terrible to be out. I think I'm going to miss the majority of the season. And then all the coaches and all the people I talked to are just like, you got to take it in a positive direction, try and be like an assistant coach on the bench, learn as much as you can. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be a team leader from the sideline, in the locker room, do what I can, and try and somehow spin it into a positive experience.
John got his cast off today. He's in a walking boot, had a teammate roll over his ankle in practice, but on the right track, could be back by maybe the end or maybe beginning of February. Get a couple of regular season games in with the Cavaliers. Now, Max, you went through the same thing last year with an injury, but here you are having a great comeback year in your senior year. You had a really big game against Fairfax, 44 points, lots of rebounds and steals. Was that your kind of welcoming back to the northern region? Can you walk us through that individual performance?
Well, I mean, I went out there and I did what I do every night. I was trying to find a feel for the game, and that night I felt like I needed to score that night, so I just went out and did it.
All right, tell me what it's like to not have John this year and how difficult that is. And you have an understanding of what he's going through too.
It's rough because, I mean, not a lot of people know this, but we went to elementary school together too, so we've been playing with each other our whole lives, honestly. And like it's been rough because we haven't got to play in high school together. Yeah. And he works hard, I work hard, and we complement each other's game very well. So it's just been rough without him.
All right, let's talk about some positive stuff too, John. Tell me a little bit about Max as a comeback guy this year, making a big comeback, coming off of a year he had to kind of sit out. What are the things that will make him a quality player at the next level too?
I mean, he's just a great player, and coming off last season's injury, he's just been so hungry and has been playing very hard and just wants it really, really bad. He's got his shots going down very consistently. He can break people down the dribble. He's a pretty complete player, and he's the kind of guy that's going to need to carry our team this season since I got out, and he's been doing a pretty good job of it so far.
Yeah, Max has a really good step back three. He can attack the basket. He can fill up a stat sheet, but in more ways than one, in more ways than just scoring. Like you mentioned against Fairfax, you kind of had to take that leadership role in terms of scoring, but you can do a lot of other things, Max. Let's walk through potentially the things that will make you a good player at the next level too, as you start to kind of branch out and look to that level. What are some things that you think will make you a good player at the collegiate level?
Not only, I feel like I'm not only a scorer, I can just do everything. Like if a coach, my team needs me to pass the ball, get an open person, run the offense, I've worked hard on learning how to do all that stuff. So I feel like I'm working in the right direction to doing all that.
Definitely, and it shows on the court. Max has made a significant impact, especially having to shoulder a lot more. He's facing double teams and more. That's something that WT Woodson coach Doug Craig said that with John down and Max having to face those double teams, we're really going to see what Max is made of, and I think we're seeing that now. John, goals for the season for you, and of course trying to come back and get back with the program. What are your goals?
Well, I mean, before the season, I and the team, we had some pretty high goals personally and as a team. And now I'm hoping to get my ankle as strong as I can get it by hopefully the last couple games in the regular season, and where I can get some good games in before the playoffs start, and hopefully be pretty strong by the playoffs and we can make a run.
Max, what are your goals, man? Not just for this year, but for the future.
I love playing basketball, and I just want to keep continuing my career. And this year, I want to have. It's my last year in high school. I want it to be a good year. What
would be the perfect ending to it?
Perfect ending is just going out and winning this Patriot District, going out and making a run at the regional title, and just try to make it to states. It's everyone's dream.
Yeah, and with the kind of talent you guys have, if John's able to come back and Max is able to continue the great seasons he's having, that's not out of the question for the Cavaliers. I want to thank you guys for joining me here in the Players Lounge. Keep an eye out for these two guys, man. Certainly two of the best players in the northern region. For Max Lennox, John Schoaf, I want to thank you for joining me in the Players Lounge. I'm BJ Kubarulis, and we'll see you next week.
So Woodson, certainly a team that people have high expectations for in the Patriot District. Let's switch over to the Concord District because, Paul, we got to see a great one last night in the Concord District. Centerville squaring off against Herndon. In the beginning, it looked like Centerville might run away with it, but Herndon had something else to say about that. They launched a huge comeback and in overtime got the win. Let's show you how this all went down last night at Herndon High School.
Yeah, and just starting at the bat, we see Tyson here with a three-pointer. Centerville just jumps off to a huge lead, 27-14 after the first quarter. You see Tysinger again for a three, and Centerville just had everything working. You see down low to Warren Denny, who heated up, obviously, the high scorer for them. Austin Hamilton for Herndon with a three, another three for Centerville. Just balls just dropping everywhere. You see Warren Denny in the paint as well. Such a strong player versus a high scorer. And so at the beginning, Monica, we say, okay, Centerville's going to run away with this game easily.
Absolutely, but then the shooters started taking over for Herndon. Jonathan Beltran had a huge game. A big block there from Austin Hamilton and Matt Ocker from the corner. Lots of different players from Herndon having a lot of range.
You're going to see more, a lot more from Jonathan Beltran in the second half because he just caught fire. That's how you say it. He was amazing in the second half for the Hornets. But then you see the Hornets now start to claw back into this game. It took a while, but once they took the lead, they did not let go of it. Just a great job in this overtime match. You see Randall and Nani getting the bucket and the foul. Warren Denny was in foul trouble. He ends up fouling out. Cameron Owens fouls out in the overtime for this team. Great pass by Beltran to Hamilton, and this is when Beltran just starts heating up. 6 3-pointers in the game, 24 points. He was just on fire.
Absolutely, and you talk about the players in foul trouble for Centerville. Herndon was missing a couple of their top players, Zach Osick, Abidre Toto, some players stepping up. Beltran here, you're going to see that great three-pointer from him. He was on fire, really feeling it later on. He suffered an injury, but you see a nice move there. You can see him behind the arc, see him with a nice layup.
Big shot by Warren Denny, Cameron Owens, Warren Denny, and Warhurst all have key three-pointers for the Wildcats, tying the game up going into overtime. But in the overtime period, Herndon outscores Centerville 11-1 to get the victory. Jonathan Beltran, 24 points. Austin Hamilton with 22. Chris Hightower added 11. Obviously, Warren Denny, who was in foul trouble, has 22 points. Cam Owens, 11 points. Bobby Warhurst with 14. So, Monica, I mean, a big, huge win for Centerville, for Herndon in this game. We thought Centerville was going to coast.
We did, and the thing that I was really impressed with as well was all the players that really stepped up for Herndon. One we didn't even talk about in the highlight package, one you talked about with Chris Whelan, Jordan McMullen. Chris Whelan told you he only played about 5 minutes the whole season. He comes in, has a big game. Let's go ahead and take a look at that interview that Paul had with Jonathan Beltran and Chris Whelan.
Thanks, Monica. I'm here with Chris Whelan and Jonathan Beltran of the Herndon Hornets after an 81-71 win over Centerville to go to 2-0 in the Concord District. Jonathan, 6 3-pointers, 24 points, big in the fourth quarter. Talk about your game.
I just had to step up. We had 3 big men down, so we had to play all guards, so I had to keep shooting.
And talk about after that first quarter, it looked like Centerville was in control. What did you guys talk about? What did you guys do over the next 3 quarters?
We had to step up. We got to have everybody hyped, so we kept it up and we started talking more.
How big is this win for the team now 2-0, 8-1 overall?
We just beat one of the biggest teams that are hyped, so we just got to keep going and play hard.
And obviously you went out with an injury. How do you feel right now?
Still hurts.
Coach, talk about what Jonathan was able to do.
Well, Jonathan came in, and he's like our little fire plug off the bench. He could easily be starting for any team in the district, and he knows that. But he came in and he hit some really big shots for us.
27-14, Centerville's favor after the first quarter. What did you guys talk about?
Well, first, Centerville is a fantastic team. Drew Murphy is a very close friend of mine, and he's done a fantastic job. They had a serious height advantage on us tonight with us missing Zach Ozick and Dre, Toto, and Ryan Johnson. And so we knew coming into the game that we were going to be very small, but in a lot of times that plays in your advantage where we can really shoot the three, and that was great. But on the flip side, our guys really got dirty on defense, and they started boxing out. When we got down 27-14, we weren't boxing out, and they were getting easy baskets. So we stopped that, and then we adjusted, and then we started hitting some shots.
With your depleted team, what does that say about your bench?
Yeah, I mean, I think our bench is fantastic. Jordan McMullen came in tonight and hasn't played over 5 minutes all year, and he played absolutely fantastic. And then we got the normal that we get out of Jonathan, Austin, Marcus, Matt, Chris Hightower. We know we're going to get out of those guys. I think our guards are the deepest guards in the region, and that says a lot because the region's very good.
You outscored them 11-1 in the overtime period, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Talk about your performance in overtime.
Well, that's just guys growing up. We wouldn't have been able to do that last year with Austin as a sophomore and Jonathan as a sophomore. These guys have matured. They know where we need to be. And Randall was our floor leader out there, which I didn't even talk about, and he should be the defensive player of the year. Got 10 steals last Friday night. I'd say he probably had 7 or 8 tonight. So we got good leaders on this team.
Herndon Hornets 81-71 over the Centerville Wildcats in overtime. Back to you, Monica.
So both of those teams doing very well this season. Herndon getting the win. Both of those teams will have to face off against a Chantilly team that has been hyped greatly for this season. Chantilly squared off against Mount Vernon. I think a lot of people would call this an upset, but I think a lot of people, Paul, don't realize how good this Mount Vernon team is. And if people are not already thinking this, I'm going to plant this seed in their minds that Skylar Jones is definitely a contender for Region Player of the Year. He is phenomenal. He's so underrated in this game. Hurt his ankle, still came up with some huge rebounds later on in the game. Last year I thought he was good. This year he's even better. So that's a great win for Mount Vernon.
Yeah, Chantilly right now in the Fairfax Times top 10 basketball poll done by yours truly. I have Mount Vernon ranked number 3 ahead of Chantilly at number 4. Those rankings were compiled before this game.
So you wouldn't call it an upset.
Yeah, exactly. You have Hayfield, you have Mount Vernon, Chantilly. I'm missing one team that TC Williams, obviously. How can I forget TC Williams? You have those teams, and Chantilly, they're going to get there. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. But right now, they're facing off against those top teams and falling short.
Well, and you mentioned another team that people are really excited about this year, which is Hayfield, and a game that you definitely want to watch coming up for you this coming weekend. Mount Vernon squaring off against Hayfield. On the one end of the coin, you have Skylar Jones. I've been talking about him. He's had a phenomenal season so far leading Mount Vernon. For Hayfield, Brandon Winbush having a sensational season. He's got a great cast of characters around him. And so I think this is going to be a phenomenal ball game. People are really going to want to take notice of this. January 15th, 2010, mark your calendars.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. Just two really high explosive teams. Hayfield playing the best basketball in the region right now. And I mentioned TC Williams. They also had a big game last Friday.
Absolutely. I didn't plan this. I didn't know these are the teams, but obviously great minds think alike, focusing in on these teams here. But TC Williams squaring off against Woodson, coming up with a big win. 2 players having a great season for them. Ryan Yates and Billy Rowland, they've been in the Players Lounge talking with BJ earlier this season. After that one loss, they've had a sensational run.
Yeah, so I love when it comes into district play, these teams are going to start playing each other. Very important matchups. We just saw it a couple days ago with Herndon and Centerville, so great basketball ahead.
Now, we don't want to just talk about the boys. We also want to tell you a little bit about what's been going on with some of the girls' teams. So let's turn our focus over to Oakton. They're being led by the Courier twins and Zora Stevenson, over 200 points total on the season so far. Oakton undefeated. They're looking like they want to make another run towards that state championship.
Yeah, Oakton only 1 loss last year. They finished 30-1 last year. Their only loss in the state final. Zora Stevenson, the Courier twins are sophomores now. This is a very, very, very dangerous team.
Okay, and finally, people who watch this show know how much I love my National District basketball, so I want to turn our spotlight over to the Edison basketball program. You see, after starting off the season with a loss, they have just gone on a dominant run. You see the scores there. Edison looking phenomenal. Maisha Goodwin, one of the best players, if not the best player in the region. She's looking extremely strong. Edison's on a roll.
Yeah, she scored 238 points this season. She's only scored less than 20 points twice in the season, so I mean, she's just amazing. And Edison, great job. They are definitely in my top 5.
Okay, well, we are going to now segue into a new segment that will be on this program each week called Verbally Committed. So we'll go ahead and let you see that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into this all-new segment called Verbally Committed here on television. That's right. You might be used to Verbally Committed on your radio dial on 106.7 The Fan HD2. I am a host of that show along with my co-host here, Stephen Ball of Verbally Committed. Stephen and I do the show on 106.7 The Fan. Let's jump into the graphics real quick. Let our folks at home know where they can find us. You can find us on the web at cbssports.com, local/DC/radio. It's a prepcast, Stephen, all about high school sports, recruiting. We had Montrose Christian coach Stu Vetter on today. Edwin Williams was our alumni update, a former DeMatha football player who now plays for the Redskins. All those podcasts are also available at the website. Now, you can also find us on Facebook, Stephen. You're active on this page as well. Just go type, if you'd like, to find us on Facebook. Typing Verbally Committed into the search bar would be the way to do that. All right, Stephen Ball, in this all-new segment, me and my co-host here, we often argue on the radio all the time about such things related to prep sports. Let's bring in Alex Iliadis now to get us focused, man.
All right, thank you, BJ, very much. We are, like BJ said, on the air now and TV instead of our radio land. And let's start out getting these guys a little Mills Lane debate here. I'm not 5 feet tall or bald, but I'm going to do my best to separate these two out. First question we're going to start with for these two guys is Terrence Ross. Montrose Christian right now is ranked number 2 in the Washington Post, coached by legendary coach Stu Vetter. Earlier this spring, Terrence committed to Maryland to be a Terp, and now Terrence no longer has that commitment. These two are going to tell you why that's right or wrong.
All right. Well, you talk about Terrence, and this is a guy, Stephen. You know, you're a Terps guy. You grew up in this area following the Terps. It's a guy. He's a big-time recruit. He said he was going to go play for Maryland, and he gives up his commitment, and he reopens his commitment. What do you think? Should he stay with the Terps, or should he be able to open his commitment in that way?
Well, I think once you make a commitment, you have to keep it. And if Gary Williams lost his job, yes, Terrence has every right to change his mind and go somewhere else that would make him more comfortable. You pick a program for the coach, whether it's an assistant coach or a head coach. So once he makes that commitment, it's over from there.
All right, look, I think as evidenced by what happened today at Tennessee, Lane Kiffin said peace out and went to USC. So what I disagree with you on is that why is it okay for coaches to do this kind of thing all the time? They recruit players and leave, and then now a player wants to reopen his commitment or rethink maybe his future, and suddenly it's a thing you can't do. Like, for example, in this area, and our viewers will remember this, you know, Kelvin Sampson left Oklahoma and left Scotty Reynolds out in the cold, you know, the former Herndon star and all Met from this area, and so he rethought his commitment, got out of his scholarship, and is now at Villanova, and look how that worked out for him.
Well, I think you're exactly right in that point, in that if there's instability with the program, wait to commit. If there's not instability, stick with it. Now, if there's a coaching change, all bets are off. They should have every right to get out of that. Even a signed contract, they should have a right to get out of.
Nah, dude, there's no way. Look, obviously the signing stuff happens later in their career. I don't think that they should never have the option of reopening their commitment. But you're right. I think there are some special circumstances. Got a lot to get to. Alex, what else we got, man?
Yeah, guys, let's change it up a little bit. Probably talking about two players that will have several commitment coming their way soon. We're going to talk about who BJ and Stephen feel is the better player, or actually the best player in the area right now. Quinn Cook or Markel Starks. BJ?
All right. Well, I know how you feel on this. So why don't I give you the floor and then I'll rebut.
Oh. Obviously, DeMatha sophomore Quinn Cook is far and away the best player in the area. He played for Team USA last year.
Obviously.
In Argentina.
Okay.
It's not even a question.
All right.
Far and away the best point guard. He's a top 20 player in the nation, and he's going to go anywhere he wants.
All right, you're right. He's got a lot of schools after him, top schools. But I got to throw it out there for my boy Markel Starks from Georgetown Prep. Leading the area in scoring with more than 25 points a game, and he's going to Georgetown. This is a guy that could be the All-Met Player of the Year when it's all said and done. All right, Alex, real quick, what else
Yeah, we got our shot clock winding down here, guys. Let's get to the last question. Public or private school? If you're a star, you're an athlete, what is better for you to get that recruitment, to get that look?
All right, we argued this today on the radio show at Verbally Committed on 106.7 The Fan. And Stephen, you obviously felt strongly.
Private schools, higher level of competition, better all-around talent, more exposure.
All right, you get a lot of exposure at the private school level, so it certainly helps to get your name out there. However, as evidenced, and look, I get to mention Scotty Reynolds twice in one segment, if you are good, they will find you no matter what. If they're good, you'll be going to college no matter what. If you're not, well, look, some people fall through the cracks. Private school obviously helps you with that in terms of getting looks, but I believe strongly that if you're good, no matter what, they'll find you. Speaking of finding things, you can find us on the web at cbssports.com, local/DC/radio. Verbally Committed is a DMV prepcast on 106.7 The Fan with myself, BJ Kubarulis, and Alex Iliadis also producing for us. And my co-host here is Stephen Ball, doing a great job. You can also find us on Facebook. Type Verbally Committed into your search bar. All right, for the whole Verbally Committed crew and staff, Alex Iliadis and Stephen Ball, I'm BJ Kubarulis saying so long until next week.
Okay, so again, we will have the Verbally Committed segment on this program each week, so you'll have to tune in each week for that. But before we go, we talked a little bit about Loudoun County football, so let's tell you a little Northern Region football news, because the AP All-State football team was announced. There we show you the first team. And Paul, when you get to this point, there are no surprises that people made the list, perhaps surprises that people didn't. And obviously Lake Braddock, after their storied season, is well represented on this team.
I love seeing Brandon Johnson on that list, one of the best wide receivers, if not the best wide receiver in the Northern Region. Clearly deserved. Also Thomas Stickford, the DB. Cameron Call, what more can you say about him?
Absolutely. And then we'll also show you the second team. Now, we've been huge fans of Michael Niebrick all year. He's on the second team All-State. A lot of people, maybe thought, otherwise, but he's been phenomenal. He'll be back next season. No doubt we'll be looking to, avenge the loss at the end of the season.
Two things I like, Spencer Rossitano, Dante Taylor, the DBs, both had great seasons.
Okay, so again, give you a little bit of football news. Obviously spent a lot of time on that during the fall, but we'll always bring you the breaking stories. Now, before we go, we do want to preview the Verizon Fios Game of the Week this week. It's going to be Stonebridge at McLean, some Liberty District action taking place. So, Paul, any thoughts about this one?
I like Stonebridge right now, the way they're playing, and there might be some familiar faces at the game.
Okay. So Paul Frummel will definitely be at the game, so he'll be back next week to tell us about all that happened at that event. Before we go, once again, we do want to thank the folks that help make our program possible. First of all, our good friends at CCI Screen Printing for all of your screen printing needs. Special thanks to Craig Sterbutzel for some of the fantastic photos that you saw, and also Dan Sousa and Vivaloudoun for some of the photos. You can get copies of this program at www.pressboxvideo.com. And you can check out our website for news, highlights, interviews, and more. Become a fan of the Fairfax Sports Network on our Facebook page and send us any comments, suggestions, or story ideas that you have. Well, for Paul Frummel, I'm Monica Moore. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week.